Welcome to Alice Just Alice 55. You're listening to an AI narrated audiobook of my original work, The Child the Sea Kept, written by Alice N. Smith. The chapter playlist is linked in the description below. Now let's begin. Chapter 11. Age 18, The Child the Sea Kept. Ava knew the sound of men waiting for a storm. They pretended at work. That was the first sign. Hands moved over rope, canvas, wood, iron, but the work had no rhythm in it. Men checked the same knots twice. They looked toward the sky when they meant to look at each other. They spoke too little or too loudly. They laughed at things that were not funny and stopped too quickly when no one joined them. The sea had its own waiting. That was quieter. The sea held its breath. By 18, Eva had learned the difference. She stood near the bow, with the blue glass charm resting cold beneath her shirt, and watched the gray water ahead. The morning had come pale and thin. Low cloud pressed against the horizon. The ship moved under a wind that should have felt clean, but did not. Something sat beneath it. A pressure like a hand against the back of her neck. Behind her, the crew worked with the uneasy obedience of men who knew they were being hunted. No one said the naval ship's name because they did not know it. They knew only what it had done. Worn false colors at Gray Harbor, come late through rain, fired once after the harbor had already failed to hold them, then vanished behind weather as if it had never meant to chase at all. The captain had not believed that. Neither had Eva. She felt him before she heard him, the slight change in the deck when men made room. Captain Elias Varick came to stand beside her at the rail. His coat was buttoned against the damp. One sleeve had been mended in black thread so neat that Thomas had pretended not to be proud of it. The cut along his jaw from Gray Harbor had healed into a pale line. The captain looked at the water, not at her. Tell me. Ava kept her gaze ahead. They are there. The captain's eyes remained on the low cloud. Where? Behind the weather, Ava said. The captain watched the horizon. You see sails? No, Eva said. Then what do you see? The captain asked. Eva listened to the ship, to the water moving wrong against the hull, to the gulls that had gone silent, to the men who did not know why they were afraid yet. Nothing. That is the problem. The captain's mouth moved slightly. Not a smile. Almost. The rats again? There are no rats at sea, Eva said. There are always rats, the captain said. Eva looked toward the gray water. Not useful ones. The captain did smile then, briefly, and Eva looked away before the sight could make anything loosen inside her. She had grown better at holding things: fear, anger, grief, love. The words were different, but the work was the same. Each had to be folded small enough to fit somewhere beneath the ribs, somewhere it could not interfere with hands, eyes, breath, or orders. The captain had taught her that without meaning to, or perhaps he had meant to teach it and regretted only how well she had learned. A shout came from above. Sail! The lookout shouted. Every man on deck changed shape. The captain turned. Where? The lookout pointed through the gray. Starboard quarter. The cloud opened enough to show pale canvas and a dark hull cutting through the morning mist. Too close. Much too close. The naval ship came out of the weather like a blade from a sleeve. The captain's voice carried before panic could. Stations! The deck answered. Men ran. Brig's roar rose from near the guns. The quartermaster drove sailors into place with the calm violence of a man who disliked being surprised. Ansel took the quarterdeck steps 2 at a time, face hard and eyes already measuring distance. Silas crossed himself, then immediately shoved a powder boy toward cover. Tomas appeared at the hatch with a bundle of cloth in one hand and a ladle in the other, as if he had not decided which would be more useful. The first cannon fired from the naval ship. The ball struck the sea short of them and threw up a white wall of water, a warning. The captain's expression did not change. "They want us whole." Eva looked at the enemy ship. "They want you alive." "Likely," the captain said. "No," Eva said. "Certain." He glanced at her then. The second shot came closer. Wood splintered near the rail. Men ducked. One screamed as shards tore across his shoulder. The surgeon's name was shouted below. Brigg cursed at the enemy, at the gun crew, at God, and at the weather for poor manners. The captain drew his sword. He did not need it yet. That was not why he drew it. Men looked for the shape of command in a crisis, and steel helped fools see. "Ansel," the captain said, "bring us toward the reef." Ansel turned sharply. "Captain!" "They expect us to run open water," the captain said. "The reef will gut us if we misjudge it," Ansel said. "Then do not misjudge it," the captain said. Ansel looked once toward Eva. She nodded. That was all. He obeyed. The ship turned, leaning hard as canvas filled, and men shouted from the rigging. The reef lay ahead, like broken teeth beneath gray water, visible only when the sea lifted white over hidden stone. The ship could cross near the western edge if the tide had not fallen too far. Eva had marked it 3 nights earlier on a stolen chart while the quartermaster pretended not to watch. The naval ship fired again. This time the ball struck. The world broke open. The impact tore through the stern rail and threw men from their feet. Eva hit the deck hard enough to drive breath from her lungs. For one moment there was no sound, only white pressure. Then the world returned all at once, shouting, cracking wood, running feet, someone praying too fast, someone else calling for water. Eva pushed herself up. The captain was down. Everything in her stopped. He lay near the torn rail with blood spreading dark beneath his coat. A length of shattered wood had struck him across the side and shoulder. His sword lay just beyond his hand. His eyes were open but unfocused, as if he were listening to something very far away. Eva moved toward him. Then the naval ship fired again. The shot screamed overhead and smashed into the mast. A spar cracked loose, swung downward, and men scattered beneath it. Someone shouted for orders. Someone else shouted the captain's name. Ansel was at the wheel, fighting the ship toward the reef. The quartermaster was on one knee, blood on his temple, trying to stand. Brigg was screaming for powder. Silas had both arms around a boy who had frozen in the open. For one breath, no one owned the next moment. Eva stopped moving toward the captain. That was the hardest thing she had ever done. Harder than hunger, harder than blood, harder than killing, harder than waking in the dark with no memory except salt in her mouth and hands slipping from hers beneath the sea. She wanted to go to him. Instead, she turned. "Brigg!" Eva called. Her voice was not loud. It carried. Brigg looked at her. "Fire low," Eva said. "Not to sink, to slow." Brigg's face changed. He heard the order beneath the words. Damage their steering. Make them clumsy before the reef. He nodded once and turned on his gun crew. You heard her. Lo, you blind saints. Eva pointed to Thomas at the hatch. Clear the wounded below. Keep the stairs open. Thomas stared at her for half a heartbeat, then gripped his cloth bundle tighter. Move then, he shouted at the men nearest him. Bleed in an orderly fashion, or I'll make you regret surviving. Eva looked to Silas. Take the boys away from the guns, unless Brigg asks for them. Silas swallowed, eyes wide, then nodded. Aye. He grabbed 2 powder boys by their collars. You heard her. Let fools become ghosts first. The quartermaster had regained his feet. Blood ran down the side of his face into his beard. He looked from Eva to the captain, then back again. Eva said, Keep them from crowding him. For a moment the quartermaster did not move. Then he stepped between the captain's body and the men beginning to surge toward him. Back to work, he roared. He is not dead, and neither are you, unless you keep standing stupidly where shot can improve you. The men moved. Eva climbed the quarterdeck steps. Ansel did not look away from the reef. Captain, Ansel asked. Alive, Eva said. His jaw tightened. How badly? Badly, Eva said. Ansel closed his eyes for less than a heartbeat, then opened them. Orders? The word struck her, not because he asked, because he asked her. Eva looked ahead. White water marked the reef in broken lines. The safe gap was there, but narrow and changing with each swell. Behind them, the naval ship was turning to follow. Too large, too confident, too certain pirates would choose open water and fear stone more than capture. Hold toward the white break, Eva said. Ansel's mouth tightened. That is where the rocks are. No, Eva said. That is where the water tells us where they are. His eyes flicked to her. Then he held course. Brigg's guns fired. Once, twice. The sound punched through the morning. The naval ship's bow shuddered as shot struck low across her forward side. Not enough to cripple, enough to make correction slow. The reef came closer. Men began to understand where Eva was taking them. Fear moved across the deck. She felt it try to enter her too. It had teeth. It had a voice. It sounded like a child gasping in dark water. It sounded like the captain breathing wetly behind her. It sounded like every name she had lost and every name she had been given. Fear told her to stop. Eva moved anyway. Ansel, Eva said, when I say turn hard. Ansel kept his eyes on the reef. If you are wrong, I am not, Eva said. The answer should have been arrogance. It was only arithmetic. The ship reached the first line of broken water. The hull lifted. Men held breath. Stone flashed dark beneath the surface to port, close enough that Eva could see weed dragging over it like drowned hair. Not yet, Eva said. Ansel's hands tightened. The naval ship fired again. The shot passed behind them and struck the reef with a sound like thunder breaking under water. Spray covered the deck. Men shouted, but Ansel did not turn. Eva watched the water ahead. There, a darker pull between 2 white breaks, a gap not wide enough for comfort. Comfort was for priests and liars. Now, Eva said. Ansel turned. The ship answered with a groan that went through every plank. For one terrible moment, Eva thought the sea would refuse them. The reef rose black beneath the starboard side. The hull scraped once, a long shuddering scream that made men curse and pray in the same breath. Then they were through. The naval ship tried to follow. It could not. Its captain saw the danger too late. The larger vessel turned, but not enough. Its forward keel struck the reef with a grinding crash that carried across the water. Men aboard it shouted. Canvas snapped uselessly as the ship lurched, trapped between pride and stone. Eva did not let herself feel relief. "Brig!" Eva called. "Now!" Brig laughed once, fierce and delighted. "Now," she says. Their guns fired into the trapped ship's rigging. Rope snapped. Canvas tore loose. The naval ship did not sink. Eva did not need it to. It needed only to stop chasing. It stopped. The crew stared. Then sound returned to them. Not cheering, not yet. Men had learned better, but something passed through the deck all the same. Breath, disbelief, recognition. Eva went to the captain. The quartermaster moved aside without being asked. The surgeon was there already, hands red, jaw tight. Thomas knelt nearby with cloth and water. The captain's eyes found Eva as she crouched beside him. "Ship?" the captain asked. His voice was barely there. "Safe," Eva said. The captain drew a shallow breath. "Enemy?" "Stopped," Eva said. The captain breathed in slowly. Pain moved across his face, but he held it in the disciplined way he held everything. "Crew?" the captain asked. "Alive enough to complain," Eva said. His mouth twitched. That almost broke her. Almost. The captain looked past her. Ansel. Ansel came down from the quarterdeck. He stopped close enough to hear and far enough not to intrude unless ordered. The captain's hand moved slightly toward Eva, not touching, asking. Eva took it. His fingers were cold. The fear she had folded away began to unfold. "Not now," she told it. The captain's gaze moved over the gathered men. Too many had come close, despite the quartermaster's glare. Brig stood blackened with smoke. Silas had one hand on the young sailor's shoulder. Thomas looked furious in the way he looked when grief came too near his kitchen. The surgeon did not look up from the blood beneath his hands. The captain said, "Listen." Every man did. Even the sea seemed to. The captain swallowed. "When I cannot command, you answer to Eva." The deck went utterly still. Eva felt his hand tighten around hers. The captain's voice was rough, but clear enough. Not because the sea gave her back, not because men fear stories, because she knows what must be done. No one spoke. The captain looked at Ansel. Ansel's face was pale with rain and salt and something older than either. For a moment Eva saw the choice move through him: pride, hurt, loyalty, judgment. Then Ansel turned toward the crew. "You heard the captain," Ansel said. That was the second thing that almost broke her. The quartermaster wiped blood from his brow with the back of his hand. "Anyone confused may explain it to me slowly and at length." Brig snorted. "After we finish not dying." Thomas said, "And after someone fixes the hole in my stores, since apparently naval officers object to proper meals." A few men laughed, small, shaken, alive. The captain's eyes returned to Eva. "You understand?" Eva wanted to say no. She wanted to say he should keep it. He should stand. He should take back the weight he had placed in her hands because it was too large and too old and still warm from him. She wanted to say she was still the child on the spar, salt blind and silent, waiting for someone else to choose whether she lived. But that child had been kept by the sea. This one had been kept by the ship. Eva looked at the captain. Yes, his hand loosened. For one terrible heartbeat, she thought he had died. Then he breathed again, shallow, but there, and the surgeon snapped at everyone to move back unless they intended to be useful. Eva stood. The deck watched her. She felt every eye. Men who had feared her, pitied her, taught her, doubted her, obeyed her by accident and then by choice. Tomas with flower in every memory, Brig with smoke in his beard, Silas with red thread and trembling faith, the quartermaster with suspicion sharp enough to cut truth free, Ansel, who had not knelt and had not refused, and the young sailor from the boarding standing very still with his hands clenched at his sides, waiting. Eva looked toward the torn mast, the wounded men, the reef behind them, the disabled naval ship trapped against stone, and the open water beyond. There was grief inside her. There was fear. There was love, so large now that it hurt. She folded them carefully. Not away. Never away. Only small enough that her hands could still work. Then Eva stepped to the place where the captain had stood. The black flag moved above her, wet and ragged against the clearing sky. She did not raise her voice. She did not need to. "Clear the deck," Eva said. "Count the wounded, patch what will drown us first. Brig, keep eyes on the naval ship. Ansel, hold us beyond the reef until I say otherwise. Quartermaster, find out what we lost." For one breath no one moved. Then Ansel said, "Aye." The quartermaster turned. "You heard her?" The crew broke into motion. Eva stood beneath the black flag and watched the ship answer. Years before, the sea had lifted her from wreckage and offered her to men who did not know whether she was curse, burden, omen, or child. The captain had given her a name because silence needed somewhere to stand. Now the name was hers. Behind her, the surgeon cursed softly, and Eva turned before she could stop herself. The captain had opened his eyes again. He was pale beneath the blood and salt, one hand clenched weakly in the surgeon's sleeve, but he was breathing, watching. When his gaze found Eva beneath the black flag, his mouth moved with the faintest trace of a smile. Not permission, not farewell, recognition. Eva faced the sea again. The ship moved beneath her feet, wounded but alive. The reef fell behind. The enemy stayed broken against stone. Ahead, the water opened wide and gray and waiting. The same sea that had once taken everything from her and given her back with no promise attached. She did not ask it for mercy now. She did not ask anyone. Eva set one hand on the rail where the captain's hand had so often rested and looked toward the open water. "Hold course," Eva said. This time no one hesitated. The ship obeyed. Thank you for listening to the final chapter of The Child the Sea Kept. I'm so grateful you spent this story with me and followed Eva's journey to the end. If you enjoyed the audiobook and would like to support my work, The Child the Sea Kept is available in ebook and paperback. You can find the links in the description below. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.